Hi, and welcome to the Inspire View series. Thank you so much for watching this episode, and I'm super excited to connect with all the women that I do in this series. My name is Cherrise Boucher. I'm a momentum strategy coach, and I basically help people get shit done. Clear their brain clutter and create plans and actionable steps so that they actually get moving in the right direction and those ideas aren't sticking in their head. Not doing anybody any good there. So today I am going to introduce you to this awesome woman who actually I came across a few years ago. So that's how long took me to just reach out to her. And she said, yes, so I'm so excited. Her name is, here we go. I'm going to have to say it. Rachel Archelaus. She's an internationally known spiritual teacher, artist, business mentor, and she is the founder of the Intuitive Art Academy, which teaches people how to have a two-way conversation with their higher selves in an easy, creative way. The Certified Intuitive Artist Program helps healers, therapists, and coaches to create a lucrative and impactful business by using the Archelaus method of intuitive art with their clients. There are graduates in 8 countries, so that's pretty cool. It's very widespread. And once you see it, you'll know why. But we'll have to direct you someplace else for that. As the co-host of the Intuitive Art Show and Soulfullpreneur Radio, Rachel has interviewed leading spiritual creatives such as Sonia Choquette, Kyle Cease, Robert Scheinfeld, and Jim Self. A prolific creative herself, she edited No Fresh Cut Flowers, an Afterlife Anthology, created Color Your Aura, an Aura and Chakra Coloring Book for young children, and has hundreds of helpful articles and videos on her blog, rachelarchelaus.com, and at Tiny Buddha, Mind Body Green, Natural Awakenings, and more. Welcome, Rachel. So excited to have you here.
Thank you so much for being here. I'm really excited about it.
It's fun. It's fun. I love meeting new people in this way because it kind of creates a little network for me of people that I can refer people to and that I get insight from. And then if I think, if something comes up for me, I'm like, hey, I know this person. I could just go right to her. So I love doing this. So tell us a little bit how you even got here, because we don't often start. I mean, some people do, super lucky people that start doing things that they're passionate about at a very young age and continue to do them throughout their whole life. But most of us start kind of a start, stop. And then we end up where we want to be and we kind of go from there. So how did you even get to do this? And then we'll talk about what this whole thing is, because it's really cool.
Yeah, I'm one of those I had the dream all my life. I always really knew that I wanted to be my own boss, but it took me quite a while to actually figure out how to do that. And to even realize that I wasn't doing what I needed to do that.
Right.
I was totally in the dark. I was the kind of kid who's my favorite story of entrepreneurship when I was little is I used to sell the inserts, the little foam inserts of the candy heart boxes from Valentine's Day, because they still smelled like chocolate. I would sell them for 50 cents because it was like a chocolate air freshener at that point. So I was always really like crafty and making stuff and selling it. And then when I was 17, I started an online business selling gift stuff. I had candles and painted flower pots and stuff. And it was always with the best of intentions. I wanted to make money. I wanted to support myself, but I never got past, hobby money, very few orders. Then I had a candle company and seasonally I would do well, but it just never was enough to even be a part-time job. And then I was a part-time psychic for 5 years doing the intuitive artwork and other kinds of things. And I made about $500 a month for a couple years, and it was fun. And I started teaching and I started coaching, but I never made it past that point. I was always working as a secretary or some kind of administrative assistant. I've had a job since I was 16. So all that time I was always doing something else, supporting somebody else's dream. And I didn't get to the point where I knew something was kind of wrong. Like I never really realized like, okay, if I don't do something different, nothing's going to change. This is never really going to become more if I keep going this way, until about 4 years ago when I realized like, this just isn't working. It's never really going to take off unless I put something else into it. And that's when I hired a business coach, which is another story because it didn't even go well. Like I can tell you that if you want.
Yeah, that's go ahead.
I
We
hired
all have stories of like some, you know, in this world, so many of us either are coaches or hire coaches, and we all have good and not so good stories, but we learn something from all of them regardless.
Absolutely. Yeah. We're never a victim, right?
No.
We always learn something. We figure it out. But yeah, I didn't know anything. I didn't know what marketing was. I didn't know what branding was. And I was, you know, I'm pretty smart. The fact that I didn't know any of that was kind of funny. But anyway, so I hired this coach. I actually had to sell my old wedding ring to afford the first payment. It was okay. I mean, I was divorced for a little while by then, but I was kind of broke, right? So I did all this stuff. I hired this lady for a year. And from the moment that I signed up with her to the moment that I sent her the email saying, okay, I can't work with you anymore, you're kind of fired, even though I still had to pay her for the entire year, nobody called me. So even my $500 a month, which was very steady by then, I had some clients who'd come every month for coaching. I did stuff. Not one drop of income came to me in those 6 months. And I didn't really understand why. I was doing what she told me to do, but it felt like more than that. It had to have been energetic, because literally like nothing in that whole time. And that was even before the changes were made, before I did anything differently out in the real world. And then the day after I sent her the email of saying I can't work with you anymore, somebody called me and I got another client. So that's kind of like, that was my big wake up call. Like, yeah, you're going to have to learn business. You're going to have to figure it out, but you have to listen to your intuition. You can't just put all of your faith in someone else. No one else can tell you exactly what to do if it doesn't really feel right. So that was a huge lesson, and I did learn a lot from it, after the fact, and I don't regret having that experience at all. But yeah, it taught me like business is not just, you can't just go to tactics. You can't just go to marketing. You have to figure yourself out inside first.
Yeah, I totally agree. I tell people that all the time. I think I've written some blog posts about that as well. Like, it's like learn the rules so you can break them kind of a thing. Like, you have to, take what's useful. Everybody has their own experiences and their own, tools and strategies that have worked. But it doesn't mean it's going to work for everybody. So if it feels icky, like if you're not like a hustle person who's like very bold and out there, and then that kind of coach who's teaching that kind of thing, you're just going to sit there and go, I just can't do this.
Yeah,
it's got to feel right somehow. And so I always tell people that to take, whatever feels good, but is a little bit of a push, because you can't stay in the comfort zone. Otherwise you never go anywhere. We all know that. But if something just is like, hell no, then don't do it, because it's just not going to flow, and you're not going to connect with the people that you need to connect with. I love that. So that obviously led to you really focusing on listening to your intuition more than, right? Was that like kind of all right, Rachel, listen to what you already know and apply it.
And it's so funny, because that's like my whole entire message of my business, whether it's teaching business or the intuitive art stuff. But I had to figure it out for myself. I had to be in that position where, just like everybody else, I had to be in that position to give my power away and have it not work, because we all do that,
Yeah.
in our lives over and over again until we really learn. And okay, in all situations, I'm the boss. So yeah, it was a really good lesson to learn early on because, God forbid I got to like 6-7 figures, which I'm not at 7 figures yet, maybe possibly. Then what if I learned it then? Then the whole thing would come crashing down. And so I'm really grateful that I kind of learned my lessons early on so that I can get straight and then, kind of take off.
Yeah. And I find value, in learning things on my own anyway, learning how to do stuff. I'm a very do-it-yourselfer. So, because then I feel, and I don't know if this is true for you, but it kind of sounds like it is because you were saying how you had to learn the marketing and the business side of it for it to really start coming together. And that's how I am. I feel like if I know how to use these tools and I know it, then it's much easier to, when you get to a point where you're going to outsource some things, whatever, you already kind of know what to expect and what they should be doing. I mean, maybe it's one of my things, but I feel like you get screwed sometimes, if you know nothing and you put it in somebody else's hands. So I find a lot of value in learning things yourself so that you know and you're educated and you can make better decisions that way.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I don't know. I mean, I think I've seen a lot of people outsource early, like too early before they know what they're doing. And there's no way of knowing why something doesn't work then, right? Because if you've never done a sales page or you've never had an enrollment conversation or you've never, just even done your own video editing,
right?
If it doesn't work and if people don't receive it the way you want, then you really have no idea why and you don't know what to change.
Yeah, I agree. Value and self-education for sure. So with all the intuition, why do you think learning to follow it, learning to listen to it, learning to honor our own intuition is like so beneficial?
Well, I think I first point to everyone else when I make this point, because if you look back in your own life, you can see where you followed your curiosity or your intuition, it worked out. I don't know if anyone has ever come to me with like, oh no, that's not true. I've never heard that, and when I read interviews, I love reading interviews of really successful people, happy people, wealthy people. And they say their number one thing is that they listen to their intuition. And I noticed that. So for me, I grew up really open. I grew up talking to my deceased relatives and seeing angels floating around. I mean, I grew up in a different way than most people. And so I've always had access to my higher self and my intuition. And, even I have, like we just pointed out before, not listened to it at times, but I think my life has been a lot easier because I've been able to really tap into my intuition. Things aren't as hard for me because if you look at the way most people are brought up, they're taught that you go to high school, you get good grades, you get, extracurricular activities under your belt, get into a good college, get a great job, have a house, get married, have kids, have a beautiful life. That's
right.
it.
Right.
But when does that ever happen? And are those people happy? Right? Like,
right.
even if all those things are checked off, like, what is their happiness level? So it's not a straight line to fulfillment, achievement, success. We all are like these little squiggly lines going through life, and our barometer has to be how we're feeling about it. What is our intuition saying? What is our body saying? That's really our GPS to fulfillment and happiness, wealth, whatever we want.
Mm-hmm.
Besides the fact that we all want something different. Like, maybe you don't want to live in a van and travel around the country and hike and backpack and get dirty and then also have a blog and a business and be international. We all have such a wide option of things. How are you going to know what you really want, what will really satisfy you, unless you were listening inside? So I feel like if we're not listening to our intuition, we're kind of bumbling around aimlessly, we're not going to be as happy. We're not going to be as fulfilled. We're not going to feel safe enough to challenge ourselves. We're not going to understand what will work best for us while we're trying to achieve our dreams. So it's kind of like a no-brainer, right? We have this technology built in. Everyone has it.
Right.
It's just, how do we listen to it in a greater way?
Exactly. You know? So how do you have tips that you give people for how to listen to it? Because then sometimes, especially people that are really into spiritual things and, you know, like the woo-woo stuff, I am. So, you know, I try to sometimes be careful with which words I use, because I don't want people who aren't into it or into it yet, you know, to think, oh my God, this is like too woo-woo. Because intuition is really something that, I mean, everybody has it. A lot of people call it their gut feeling. So in like a layman's terms of like Joe Schmo out on the street, you know, like your gut feeling. I mean, we all have those times where we did not listen to it and we're like, oh shit, like that was so bad. That so did not turn out the way I wanted it to, but I already knew that it wouldn't, because I had that feeling it wouldn't. So I guess my question is, how can you learn more to listen to that? Because it's such a quiet thing, right? And our ego can just like, bam, step in and say, oh no, you're not good enough to do that. Or, you know, the fears of investing, or the fears of trying something you've never done before. All those things step in, but usually the intuition comes in first, but so quiet, you know? So how could you kind of amp that up so that you really pay attention to it more?
Well, a great point about the woo-woo thing. I am highly woo-woo, even though I don't really like that term. I'm like the most grounded person I know. My boyfriend is an engineer, and he's like telling me all the time I'm the most practical person, you know? So just because you're woo doesn't mean you're like floating on the clouds, you know?
Right.
But
although there are some people that are like that. And
there are some, but
totally
I think
cool, because that's their gig, right?
Yes, absolutely. We're all beautiful, divine creations, and it's wonderful that we're all a little bit different. So yeah, but so for the non-woo people out there, I definitely look to model other people whose lives I admire, right? That's kind of like the mainstream way to do it. And one person I really love listening to and listening to his interviews is Tim Ferriss. He's probably really widely recognized for his book, The 4-Hour Work Week and The 4-Hour Body, 4-Hour Chef. He had a TV show, and he has an award-winning podcast where he interviews people about, you know, deconstructing their success. How do they do it? What are their daily activities like? How do they think? And he just wrote a book called Tools of Titans, in which he kind of takes the patterns that he found from all of those successful people, and there's been a ton. And he found that 90% of them meditate. And so if you're looking to increase your intuition, and you want to be a high successful player in the world, you want to really have your dreams be achieved, do what those people are doing. And that's meditating. And it doesn't have to be 20 minutes twice a day, like transcendental meditation style. It could be 5 minutes before you get out of bed. It could be, you know, at a stoplight for 10 seconds. You're just kind of checking in with your body, doing a little scan. Whatever way works for you, and then it can change as you grow. There's even apps like Headspace that will bring you through a guided meditation. But silencing will turn up the volume, because you're strengthening your connection inside as opposed to putting all of your attention outside. And your ego, like you were talking about, it's terrified, right? It doesn't want to change. It doesn't want you to move. It just like wants you to stay exactly the same. And a lot of that is because you grew up absorbing what other people are afraid of, how they think you should be, you know, where you should go, where you should spend your money, how you're a bad person if you do anything differently. And so going within strengthens your own instincts, your own gut feels, and it really does start to like let all that other people stuff seep out of you. And so if you can go silent, go within for at least a couple minutes a day, you're going to notice that it not only strengthens your intuition, the voice gets louder, but all that other ego stuff is going to start to really diminish without you even having to do anything. So it's totally a win-win there. And also you were saying like, you know, how do we go with our intuition when our ego is saying like, oh, don't invest there, don't try new things. Start so small, you can't even believe it with your intuition. Like, ask yourself, okay, would it be more beneficial for me to have a pear for breakfast or a waffle? And then see which one feels more exciting.
Probably the waffle feels more exciting.
Hey, whatever it is, you know what I mean? Like, start
we know
where
which one would be better for us, but
I like what would be most beneficial for me right now. I like that question because then it's not about like shaming us into something, you know, because hey, maybe the waffle would make you smile and that's the most important thing. So
yeah, I like how you say that. What's more beneficial? Not necessarily what's healthier or what's this, but what's more beneficial to you at that moment.
Exactly. Yeah. And then so start small, follow your intuition, and then it'll build and you'll get more trusting of what it says and you'll be able to make bigger decisions with it.
And they're probably like the quick, your initial impulse, your initial thought about something, because when you overthink, that's when the confusion sets in, I think.
Yeah, you were calling it the first voice. That's exactly what it is. It's that first jolt of whatever. Yes, no, expansive energy or contractive energy. So if you even want to do something right now, you can really ask your intuition on purpose of like, say, waffle or pear kind of questions. Like, is it most beneficial for me to stay in for lunch or to go out for lunch? Because you never know, you might meet someone at lunch if you go out.
Very true.
But if you want to connect, you want to ask your intuition on purpose, just kind of take a breath, shake it out. You don't have to like feel like a Zen yogi in order for this to work, but you just want to kind of like get out the jitters and then say to yourself, okay, higher self, is this the most beneficial thing for me to do right now? And then have one option. So is going out to lunch the most beneficial thing for me to do right now? And immediately you will either feel like a tightness or like a heaviness in your chest or some part of your body, or an expansiveness or a lightness. It's instant, and it will probably happen before you're even done asking the question, because you're asking yourself. I mean, it doesn't take time for you to talk, but that's really the easiest way in the moment for you to access your intuition and not have to wait for it to come up. So now you can start optimizing your life in every moment for every decision. It doesn't take any time at all. And you'll be able to start trusting yourself because you'll be taking action on it.
Yeah. Yeah. And the action, I think, is what shows the trust in yourself. You know, you're doing this, your intention is to follow your intuition. So the more you say yes to your intuition and take action on what you're receiving as messages from that, then the more you'll get, the more you'll benefit from it and the easier it'll become, right?
Yeah, because you'll start seeing the proof that it works. You'll start seeing like, holy cow, if I didn't go out to lunch, I never would have met this person. And, you know, now they're a client, or now they're my best friend. Or I got free tacos today, you know, like, you know, I've gone to just a silly little thing. I've gone to like a different Starbucks where I just felt like I just want to drive a little bit more today, kind of clear my head. Gone to a different Starbucks and I got a free drink. I mean, it's small, right? It's a tiny little thing, but I followed my intuition to drive a little bit more, and that's happened. And that happens to me all the time, not necessarily with Starbucks, but, you know, I found a free stamp in the postage meter at my post office the other day, and just all sorts of random things. I get free stuff all the time just because I'm listening to my intuition on when to do things, where to go, etc. So it really does pile up, and you start to see pretty quickly, okay, this is really worth doing.
And you probably don't even need to literally like sit there and ask yourself after a certain period of time. You're just so used to kind of doing it without thinking about it on a subconscious level that you're just like, I feel like going to this other Starbucks today.
Exactly.
It's not so much like you have to sit there and take a deep breath and go, what's most beneficial for me to go to today or something like that. It just starts to flow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it starts to become your way of life. And then your intuition is more on your radar. And so you're feeling it all the time instead of having to actually go on purpose and find it.
I love that. So in business, how have you found that this really is like the kick-ass way to go with business decisions or creating a business or thinking which direction to go? Because a lot of us entrepreneurs, and we change, like we start with something and it's kind of like, it's not really going the way we want it to. Should you change, or how? Or sometimes it's just a teeny little tweak. So I'm sure this all falls in under the intuition and your business umbrella.
Yeah, well, I mean, in business, there are a million decisions you have to make every single day of like, all right, what should my subject line be? Is it good enough? How should I put an image in this email? Should I work on a blog post today or make a sales call? Like, what tone should I take in my overall business? What should my funnel look like? I mean, there's like endless questions that you have to answer as a business owner.
Right.
And if I had to make them all with my mind, I would drive myself insane. And I have many times driven myself insane because I don't know. I mean, I know where I'm at. I know how I got here, but there's like a million other people with successful businesses. I don't know how they did everything and what I should do just based on that. And so I kind of feel like I have to use my intuition most of the time because I don't have any other way to answer these questions.
Right.
And I don't know how to grow my business before I've done it, really. I don't know what tactics will work for me unless I consult my feeling state and my intuition. So it's crucial, I think, to have that sense. And I think that's why a lot of business owners, the Richard Bransons and Oprahs of the world who've created massive empires but are still happy. They still have a lifestyle that they really enjoy.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I think they often say that intuition is their number one asset, because otherwise, how could they possibly have built that? They couldn't have built that just on the knowledge that other people have amassed in the world, which is the only thing our mind has access to. Our mind can only look at what has been done and then, maybe tabulate future projections from that. But really, it's make-believe.
Right.
Our intuition is the only thing that can say, okay, this is absolutely right for you. We know that you have no proof of this so far. You're going to have to trust us, but go for it. And then our intuition is always going to point us in the right direction. And maybe it's not like the end all be all. Like your intuition is probably not going to give you your entire business plan and lay out like page after page of do this and then this and then this. Normally it's like kind of one or two steps at a time. But that's all you really need, right? You can only do one thing at a time anyway. Right. So it's often enough. And to get more detailed stuff, I use intuitive art. So I get, what does the most beneficial marketing funnel look like for this product? Or how should I launch this? Or what is my why? Because that's often hard to articulate. All kinds of stuff I use intuitive art for in my business because it will lay it out for me outside of my body, and it can give me more details than just my intuition alone can.
Which I love, because I'm a very kind of proof-driven person. So like when I was taking my Reiki classes, for example, like energy. And at first I was like, what the hell? Like, this is weird, right? But I followed a suggestion from a psychic actually to go down that path. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to start saying yes to stuff, right? So I did. But then I was like, all right, I need to see more how this works. So I started using a pendulum along with it for chakra balancing and everything. So that's my visual. And I tested it with some friends of mine. We would get together for Reiki shares. So we would test her like doing it just with her hands and balancing chakras. And then I would test it with my pendulum. And it showed that they were like all balanced. So I'm like, there we go, perfect. So your intuitive art technique is like exactly like right up my alley, because it's more of a physical visual proof of something that you can take a look at than just, you know, the abstract of listening to your intuition, which it is intuition. It's just like put on paper kind of a thing.
Yeah, with your eyes closed. So there's like that element of surprise and, wow, that's really cool. How did that happen?
Yeah.
Kind of like a tarot reading, how, you know, your bigger eye is really choosing what's happening, and then you just get the benefit of the wisdom, which is pretty fun.
It is. And the way you do it, because so to put away any fears of somebody saying, I'm no artist, I can't draw, you know, like I don't have a creative bone in my body, you know, those kinds of things. Do you have an example like right near you of like something you've done? Because I want to show people that this is totally like, it's really for your own benefit to do this and to just let go and let it happen, because you don't have to have a technique for the way that you teach it, which is why I love it so much, because it's like everybody can do it.
Yes, you don't, I mean, we're scribbling with our eyes closed. So there's no like
do that.
creating a beautiful flower or anything. These are some examples, right? So eyes closed, scribbles.
Yeah.
Nothing like more than a 3-year-old would do. So
right. So you don't have to like draw a portrait or do anything fancy. It's very cool. So do you want to explain a little bit about, because I feel like I'm leaving people in the dark just because I know, because I've watched one of your classes before, that I have a little bit more of a background of how this process works. And I know that your website has all that too, but give people a little heads up.
Absolutely. So basically it's just a way for you to have a 2-way conversation with your intuition, or what I just call your higher self. So when I say higher self, I just mean the part of you that's not really bound by the body. It's the part of you that's still connected to whatever you feel you came from. So for me, I kind of envision this like big ball of energy in the sky that's like all there is. We're all coming from that. We're all like little pieces of that. For you, it could be God. But I really think that we're all still connected. So a part of us shoots up to the top and goes through all of those amazing dimensions where we don't have time or space, where if my higher self wants to talk to your higher self, it just goes up and down, and then they can have a little conversation. And that's my belief system, although it's not as linear as that, I'm sure.
Right.
And so in that way, I believe that we can get our information without any kinds of barriers. So if we're going to our intuition or our higher self, we can get information that truly benefits us, because the higher self can see everything. It can see the past, the present, the future. It can interact with all those other people's higher selves and know who's going to be our customers or where we should go to have the best, you know, speaking engagement, etc. So that's kind of how I see this all working. And if that is way too woo-woo for you, I get it. And we can just talk about the subconscious mind. So
it's all the same stuff.
The subconscious mind has all of this amazing information because it takes in so much data in the world. And there you go. So
right.
That's basically the overview. And you can tap into that with intuitive art. So there's 3 steps to make it super easy. Anybody can do it. Step 1 is just, what is your question? You're going to ask one question, and specifically, like, make it something that could be, you know, and not like, what is my purpose? It's a very big question, and it would be kind of hard to decode. So you want to ask, how can I start living my purpose right now? And then we'll give you like one action step, or maybe the first things that you can do to start living your purpose. So step 1 is the question. Step 2 is drawing. And you're just going to have some blank paper in front of you and crayons or markers or pastels on the side of your dominant hand, so that when you close your eyes and draw, you can just reach them easily. So step 1, ask the question. Step 2, close your eyes and then start to draw, and your hand will do all the work. So you don't have to think about anything. You don't have to like hold the question as an intention. Just let it go. Your hand will do some scribbling, pick the colors and everything. And then step 3 is you open your eyes and you look at it and you decode it. And you're going to decode using your own color meanings. And we help you find those in our free class. We just bring you through a little guided meditation. You fill out your color sheet, and that's it. So when you're looking at your drawing, you can say, oh, there's yellow here. That means joy to me. Or there's purple. That means spirituality. And the paper, your drawing, will make a little story. It will make your answer kind of come to life. And then you'll know what to do. You'll know what your intuition is saying to you. So it's just 3 steps, and it's really simple, and everybody can learn it in less than an hour. And we give it away. So it's all totally free too.
I think that's so cool. And you explained, I'm not sure if the free class that you offer is the one I watched. It probably is. That like if things are overlapping, that kind of means that these 2 things are kind of together or tied somehow. And like you've explained a lot more in the class on how to interpret your scribbles.
Yes.
So that they make sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. The way things are on the page, the shapes, all of that really factors into what your drawing says. So it's not just going to be like, you're going to understand it, basically. You'll understand what it says. And we even have a Facebook group where you can post your drawing if you don't understand it or you just want to share. And I will actually make a video for you on what I think your drawing says. So we don't just leave you in the dark. Yeah. And it's really fun too to see everyone's drawing and help decode. It's really cool.
Yeah, because again, it's one of those things, I don't know, maybe I'm like one of the people who get stuck in things like that, but you're like, try to read too much into something. And I think it's more of a lighter approach. Like, don't try to like analyze it with statistics. It's not like that. And I hate statistics. So it's not like I know that stuff. I like steer clear of it, but sometimes I'll try to read too much into stuff and it's really not that complicated. So I think it's a good tip to just step back and just intuitively see what comes to you about what you created.
Yeah.
And you
lighter
can
is
chuckle
a
at
good
it
word
too, because I did follow along with it when I watched your course. I was like, what the heck is this? So it might look goofy, it might look completely disconnected, but there's a purpose for that within there when you interpret what it is.
Yeah, most people who open their eyes to the first drawing are like appalled. Like, what is this? This is not what I wanted. So yeah, that's definitely that.
Yeah, because I'm sure there can be where you like have a lot of one color or variations of one color if you've got like several shades of something out there. You're like, what? Like, why is this whole thing like yellow or mustard yellow, like these kinds of variations of that. So I'm sure that means something in there too.
Yeah, I mean, no 2 drawings have ever been the same, which is incredible because I've seen, I don't know, tens of thousands by this point.
Yeah.
And I've done so many, and I still can't even believe that I've not seen them all before. But yeah, and some people open their eyes and it's like all black, or sometimes it'll be all one color, even though they felt like they grabbed 7.
Yeah.
So, but the message is always good, right?
Yeah.
You're never going to get a bad message. It's never going to be negative. And so it's always just a way of figuring out how it applies to you and how it's going to benefit you.
I think this is so cool. And I think that everybody should try it because there's no reason not to. And it just gives you another tool to access your intuition and get a little inside guidance into what's going on in yourself. And I think often once you do this, you probably already knew this answer already. Like it's just sort of a confirmation of what you already knew. I'm sure you found that a lot. Like we doubt ourselves, and then you do this little exercise and you're like, oh, well, yeah, of course.
Yeah, and another thing is I think we all get really overwhelmed with options. And maybe we want to do 7 things, right? But we only have time for 1. So I find that it's really helpful in kind of releasing my overwhelm or my excitement about stuff where I'm like, okay, well, this is where to start. That's good. And I know I can still do the other things if I want, but I know, this is a good starting place. But yeah, validation is huge, right? We're so used to being an outwardly focused society,
right,
where everything comes from the outside. Validation from other people, like money and friendship and approval, and everything comes from the outside. We're not used to looking for inner validation, inner approval, inner wealth, all of that stuff. That's why the gratitude movement was so huge, because we weren't used to looking at what we've already accomplished and smiling for ourselves.
right.
So yeah, moving inward is a great thing to do, and intuitive art can definitely help you figure out what's going on the inside and give you validation.
I love this. Love it. So that's why I'm so happy that you said yes, that you would be on my series, because I think it's just such an awesome tool for people who like tools, and for people who want to expand their intuition and practice going within and listening to the answers that they've already got. It's already in there, and we waste so much time, like you said, looking for approvals or validation from outside of ourselves. And that, in my getting shit done realm that I work people with, I'm like, stop asking other people. Like, you already know this, like, what do you want to do? Does this feel good to you? I'm like, yeah. I'm like, then why are you asking and waiting for answers from other people? So this is a good tool to help with that, because whatever question they may be kind of stuck with or looking for that validation outside of themselves, they can use this tool to get that for them, and much quicker, because it doesn't take a long time to do this.
Yeah. The other thing I use it for often is like about blind spots or blocks, because we'll all come to that plateau in our business, or we'll really honestly feel like we have no idea what to do next, or we'll feel like we've been doing the right thing but it hasn't been working. And so intuitive art's a good way to kind of figure out, okay, what do I need to do to really achieve this goal, or show me where I'm blocked in this area. And that's always helpful to get more insight as well.
I love that. It's all benefits to doing this practice. It's all benefits. So you can't go wrong. There's no wrong way to do it. So that's what's so fantastic about it. So obviously we've talked about it a little bit, that you have this whole initial class as a free class. So could you just tell people where to go and grab that? And I will have all the links. I'll have the links for your Facebook page too. Just make sure you provide that to me for that Facebook group you were talking about. Mm-hmm. I'll have everything on my website, so it's super easy for everybody to connect with you and grab this class and find out more about you and everything.
Great. Yeah, the free class is just intuitiveartacademy.com.
Easy peasy.
Easy peasy, and I'll see you all there. I'm really excited.
Yeah, it's great. It's great. It's totally worth taking the time to learn this, because after the initial class, they can do this on their own to answer lots of questions. And then you also teach this as a course for certified instructors, or for people to learn how to do it with their own clients and things? Can you touch on that a little bit before we go to?
Sure. Yeah, so we have a program called the Certified Intuitive Artist Program, and people can learn how to really master this technique and go beyond what's taught in the first class, because even though you get everything you need to know to do the technique in that class, I mean, there's so much more. I've been doing this for 24 years now.
Wow.
Which is crazy, but
it's like your whole life. You look like you're not much older than
I know. Well, I started when I was 11, actually.
Okay.
It came to me then. So
it's like I've been doing this since I was 2. So got a lot of experience in this.
Mm-hmm. You never know. I'm sure there are people out there that cool. Yeah. So I teach people how to use this with their clients, and how to also teach it in workshops, and how to have, private practice, and the advanced techniques of it, what your colors are saying about you, and how to use any color in the rainbow, because we teach you how to use just the basic colors in the free class, and how to connect with other sources like your guides and your angels and stuff. And there's also different ways you can lay out a drawing, and it also happens naturally, but like for relationships and past, present, futures, and there's a lot to it that we don't get to cover in the free class. And so we teach that in the certification program, and that way you can use any part of it with a client, and really help them in the best way possible. We have a lot of therapists who use this with their clients, and body workers, and life coaches and health coaches. So it's really helpful for the coaches to use for their clients, but also to teach to their clients so that they can have this tool as well.
Right. And is it self-paced?
Yeah, it's self-paced. You get a new class every week, but you don't have to complete it that week. So it's really a 5-month program if you take it 1 week at a time, and then you can space it out as much as you want. And what I love about it is that you can't graduate unless you've had 5 paying clients and you've taught a workshop. So everybody who graduates has made money back, which I think is important, because I started off in business, like teaching beginner business stuff. And I noticed that most people would be so terrified of taking any money for what they were doing, because I teach more in like the spiritual realm.
Yeah.
And for some reason, there's this big, like, scary monster that you can't charge for that kind of work. And so I just make sure that everyone's crossed that hurdle before they leave the program, and so they're well on their way to really doing what they want to do in the world.
That's so important. So important. And because especially, I know that is a big thing in like the healing arts and things like that, to do that. And I think it's because that so many of us love what we do so much that we would do it for free.
Yeah.
But you can't pay your rent and stuff like that. So, because you can't go like provide your services to the electric company.
Yeah.
And say, okay, good, we're good now, right? Like that bill's gone. Doesn't work that way. So I like when people say that money is an energy. So it's just an exchange of energy, even though I find that hard sometimes to wrap my brain around. I like the concept of it like that, because I'm like, but this is a dollar bill. It's not energy. It's like a dollar bill, right? But it's absolutely, absolutely necessary. And in order to do what you're passionate about and love what you're doing and to serve others, you need to live, and you need to be able to, in order to put everything out, you need to be able to cover your needs. So you have to charge.
Yeah, I know. Even if you're not looking to get rich off of what you're doing, which there's nothing wrong with, but okay, so maybe not everyone wants that. For me, I use the example of I want to buy organic food, and organic food costs a lot of money. So I need money in order to be healthy and eat the kind of food I want to eat. So when I was first starting my business, that was my goal. I just wanted to be able to afford to eat whatever I wanted and not have to like look at the prices at the grocery store. So now I eat mostly from the farmer's market, which is even better, but you know, you got to take it one step at a time and get over that hurdle. And it's really hard for some people.
It is. But when you think about, like in your case, so you wanted to eat healthy, that allows you to show up in a better way for other people, and then to teach this and to be there for them, which you wouldn't be able to do if you were sick and you weren't healthy. So when you look at it in the bigger picture, you know, expand the pieces of why you're doing it and why you need to charge. Like, we're totally getting off topic, I guess, but it's important. It's important that really, to be the best version of yourself, it has to happen that way. And it's not a dirty thing. You know?
Yeah.
So,
and you can use intuitive art to navigate that too, you know, figure out where your blocks are and how to overcome them and what's the best strategy to make money. I do that all the time.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, there's just so many uses for it that I'm sure once everybody takes that class, their brain will start going, oh, I could use it for this. Oh, I could use it for this. Love it. Well, thank you so much, Rachel, for being here with me today and sharing this, because I love it. And I'm going to definitely encourage people to take this. As you said, it's about an hour, right? Mm-hmm. And it gives you all the foundation that you need to learn how to do this, which is so cool, because you can incorporate this in your everyday life and get insight from yourself, so you don't have to go to somebody else or look outside of yourself to do it. You get the answers faster that way. And again, everything will be on my website at CherriseBoucher.com/the Inspire View Series 2017. So there'll be quick links there. The video is also on YouTube, so it's free to share. And I hope that you take advantage of that. And I'll also have the link to your Facebook group in there as well. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much. This has been an amazing hour.